Hi, everybody. Welcome again from the Rhode Island Shore. It's July 20th, 2020. I'm recording this actually after all the Student's Journey videos have been created. There are 52 up until this point, and they were completed a couple months ago. So I've been kind of, releasing them every once in a while ever since. I wanted to create a chronology of the Student's Journey, so it was all kind of in one place, and it was easy to just get it all done at once, as it were, or as quickly as possible. I thought first of all I'd let everybody know that there were 52, and I think the next one will be posted will be 45. So it's getting near the end, and we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of 2020, in which there was, in my mind, kind of a big deal as well. But after 44, we're going to start entering into really a remarkable piece of experience. In my mind, Joshua talks about. Well, I'd like to just step back for a second. This whole idea of having this spiritual journey, or this journey, like, is it a spiritual journey? I don't know what to call it. Signs and wonders, synchronicities, and two things really come out for me. Well, I guess three things. One was I had this search for truth, and I was just looking for what worked, and I ended up hitting, as I've shared, A Course in Miracles at one point. And the Course really started doing something that I didn't think anything would ever do, which was start proving to me that the invisible realm is more real than the visible realm. That there's an intelligence going on behind the scenes, and it's real. There really is an intelligence going on behind the scenes. And the maybe as interesting as that, from a practical point of view, it's possible to tap into that. A lot of you might know who Jack Canfield is. He did the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and although a lot of those things, really popular kind of motivational guy and all that. He has a thing. He says that if you're interested in finding out about your life's purpose, and I kind of go back to these things when I'm at a crossroads, because there's been this huge completion which has occurred, and I'm trying to chart the future, see what's next, and doing this whole series was part of that. As much as anything, for making sense for me out of all these things that have happened, I like to say I don't make any claims at all. I mean, I'm not saying I'll follow through what I think is the conclusion of a trajectory. And there are fulfilled prophecies and things, so that makes me more likely to believe it. There's also a beauty to the teachings and the events, and beauty kind of convinces me as well of the reality of something often. Joshua shares somewhere in the Way of Mastery, your greatest challenge now is to understand that the invisible is greater than the visible. And so here we are at an interlude of sorts. I'm sitting by the ocean. It's hot. It's maybe the hottest day of the year. My birthday was yesterday. I turned 58, which is completely and utterly shocking to me, no pun intended. I was just talking to a friend. I said I feel like I'm about 42, and even that's kind of odd. So, but I just wanted to take a short break and let you know where we are in this series, and share that I really don't know what's next. The series ends with a mystery. And there may be some other things I share, but I kind of wanted to thank everybody who's given feedback and who says they've been following the series too. I mean, I really started creating this thing. I'd had this weight on myself to get this journey down, because it's been remarkable. It seems remarkable to me. It seems like a remarkable story. I have a dear friend who said to me a while back, "Oh, well, this is someone I knew from high school," and she said, your life's been very unusual. And I go, it has? And she goes, yeah, who else do you know who's done this kind of thing? And I'm like, I guess you have a point. I don't think of it as being unusual. But this journey, which is, as I say, came to A Course in Miracles, and the Course started proving to me that this reality isn't really what we think it is. It started proving it to me in events in the world. These synchronicities would happen that so obliterated the laws of probability over and over and over again that you just had to give it some, you had to say, no, this is something else is happening. They say that Jeshua's community that he grew up with, in the Essenes, used to know that if you could change something in here, in the self, even in the mind of the self, that things out there changed. And they didn't know why, but they knew it happened. And so they became a study of that. That's the community he's born into, the understanding that human consciousness is intimately interwoven with what we experience as the physical world. At the ultimate expression of this, or one of the ultimate expressions, we find one of the core teachings of the Course and the Way of Mastery, and it's really kind of the core teaching. It's called the first axiom in the Way. Joshua even says it's the teaching that everything else is designed to help you learn. So what is that? That's that we're the creator of all our experience based on what we choose to put our attention on. Wow, so that means we have choice, and that means that what we choose to put our attention on determines our experience, and nothing else does. Nothing else does. Nothing determines for us what we choose to put our attention on. And that's a remarkable thing to believe. That's a lot different than what we're taught in school. It's a lot different of all the crazy push and pull dynamics of this world and trying to survive. And there's this power and there's that power, and what's more powerful, and how we're going to get in, we're going to develop our intelligence or whatever, develop skills so that we can make money and survive and blah, blah, blah. And all the time trying to find some meaning to it, kind of sometimes feeling like, oh, well, I feel like life goes on because we remember people and stuff like all these, what to me are kind of compromised beliefs. But whoever thought there'd be a belief system that didn't have compromise? But for me, the Course is almost there, right? Not quite, but the Way of Mastery, Jeshua through the Way of Mastery is really there. And that's where I learned my connection with him. And I feel like in my student's journey, really, I feel he was waiting for me. If any of you are interested, there's a recording in the Way of Mastery teachings from the early years teachings. You can find it at christmind.info. It's called Love Heals All Things. I really recommend it. If you recall in my sharing, there was a time when I first found the Way of Mastery book, and there's a picture of JM in the back, and I called him and kind of said, hey, dude, what's this all about? Are you legit or not? And he said, oh, well, come to, where do you live? And he was 2,000 miles away, and you've heard the story, I'm repeating it, but I met him. Synchronicity would have it that just a couple weeks after I called, he was going to be very close to where I lived. And so I went and saw him, but that evening was called Love Heals All Things. And I asked a question. Now it seems kind of silly, but just the way I asked the question seems like kind of silly to me. I guess it's like hearing yourself on tape, right? But the question was basically, how can we even ask a question about how can we ask a question about pain if there's an all-loving God? And he answered it so brilliantly that really it changed my life forever. And just after that, I had a session with it that changed my life forever. Really, almost all of the student's journey piece is about my relationship with Jeshua, finally getting to him through A Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery. And then really, once that happens, listening to him, following his clues, and trying to stitch together this journey through the atonement plan, a student's journey. And thank you for joining with me. We have 8 more to go, and who knows what happens after that. Happy summer, everyone.